Hey guys, John Shin here with National Rental Services. I wanted to answer some questions about how the rent-to-own program works. So before I get started, let me tell you why we're doing it. There's a lot of you out there who are paying very high rents right now that want to get into home ownership, but we have 1 to maybe 4 different reasons we can't transition from the high rent world to the world of home ownership, which is the fastest way to cut our housing costs down and also get some interest write-offs and so forth and the other benefits that come with home ownership. So if you are committed to the area long term, then these are maybe some of the reasons that we can't get into a home right now. And this is why we're doing the program. Number 1 is we don't have the credit to get a loan right now. And that's maybe something that we're working on. I know a lot of us have come from different markets. We're in this land of second chances, if you will. Or maybe we've been here for a while. We got dinged up on our credit in 2008, 9, and 10. That's happened to a lot of us. And we're just working on our credit right now. Well, I'm going to show you how we can accelerate getting you to a mortgage-ready position where you can get that loan and qualify. Number 2 reason that people aren't buying houses right now is we don't have the cash. I'm going to show you how in the rent-to-own program it actually takes very little money to lock in a future home commitment and work a plan to get into that house in the future. Number 3, there's no confidence in the job market. Now, this is one that we can't really address. If you don't have confidence in yourself, you don't have confidence in the market, maybe it's because of the volatility we have in oil prices and so forth, or you don't know if your job's going to be there later, then maybe there's no motivation to lock into a 30-year rate and we're just going to have to surrender to paying high rents. But if you do have confidence in the future, or you're smart enough to recognize that, you know what, I see all these landlords gouging everybody out here with these high rents, why don't I join them as a worst case scenario? If I can't buy a house or I lose my job, I go back home, I'm making anywhere from a 15 to 20% return on my cash, my little bit out of pocket that I had to put down to get a first-time home, and I'm making a better return on that property than I would anywhere else. So, it's funny, we get a lot of people who complain about the high rents around here. Well, then just join them. So I'm going to show you as a plan B or fallback position for number 3 here, how that can actually work to your huge benefit as opposed to being a negative. And then the last thing is we don't know what home prices are going to do. So obviously if there is a fear that I'm going to buy something at $200,000 now and it's going to be worth $180,000 in a year or 2, then that would be enough to motivate me not to buy a house. But we're going to show you how the rent-to-own program actually protects you in that regard. So let's talk about what the program is. Here's what it consists of. There's 2 documents. You have a lease agreement. That lease agreement looks really no different than what you're used to in a lease agreement, and it stands on its own. So it acts independent of everything else happening. Then you have a purchase agreement. That essentially is a contract to buy the house in the future at the end of your lease. So we have both of those working together to eventually get you into that house. Let me tell you how each one works. The lease agreement requires a security deposit, just like you normally would have, and then you would start paying a monthly rent once you got into the house. But when you combine that contract to purchase in the future, then what that does is it takes the money you would have put down on a security deposit and turns it into option money, which is a non-refundable deposit that you're giving to the property owner to say, look, I want to buy this house. I want the exclusive right to purchase it from you. You can't sell it to somebody else while I'm in the house, and you can't sell it to somebody at the end of my lease. So that is your option money. That's your commitment to the owner so that they don't try to sell it to somebody else. The second thing that you're doing then is you're going to start paying monthly rents in that lease, but a portion of those monthly rents can be applied towards your future home price. That's the third part of the option right here, that future home price that you're locking in right now. Now, let me preface this by saying that your option money, the rent rate that you're paying, the amount of credit you're getting on your rent, the future purchase price that you agree to, all of those are different terms in this whole lease option arrangement that we have to negotiate on your behalf with different property owners. Keep in mind that all of our owners are different. They have different motivations, different risk tolerances, different time frames when they want to sell their property. Some of them don't want to ever sell their property. So we have to find what works for you in all 4 of those areas and match that with an owner that has the same kind of horizon that you do. And that's where kind of the art of this falls. But once we understand what you're looking for, we can structure that and have something we can present to different property owners of houses that you would like to eventually own. So let me talk about the protections that you have. That option money is going to be equal to 1 month rent. So instead of, again, paying a security deposit, you're not paying that security deposit, you're just doing the option money, which is 1 month rent. That's all it costs for you to get in the program if you have decent credit. I'll talk about what happens if you have recovering credit. Then you pay the first month rent, and then you're into the deal. The future purchase price is something that you lock in with the property owner. Let's say that you agree to a $200,000 future purchase price. Well, because of a protection we have in that option contract, you actually have the best of both worlds, meaning if the home prices go up, well, you've already locked in your purchase price, so they can't sell it to you for more money than it's worth whenever you buy the house later. If the property values go down, here's the protection you have that we're most proud of for you, is that if the property doesn't appraise for the price that you have locked in, then the bank won't lend you the money to buy the house, and you'll get to get your option money back from the seller, and you walk away with no harm done. So that is a protection that is probably the most important part of this lease option contract. Is you get the lower the price if it goes up in value, or you get the lower price if it goes down in value, because the bank won't even lend the money to you, because you have to remember, the bank's more exposed than you are. They're going to have anywhere from 80% to maybe 95% of the value of the home. Their cash is coming out to front. They're fronting that money for you. So they're going to do an appraisal to make sure they're not overexposing themselves, and that indirectly protects your interests. And the way we structure the lease option is you're protected both ways. So keep that in mind. So let's talk about the money here. So how much do you need to get into this deal? Well, it kind of depends on your credit situation. That affects it a little bit. It also depends on the rent amount for the house that you're getting into. So the option money up front is, again, first month's rent. Then you also have to pay, again, the first month rent as rent when you move into the house. So one month's rent is option money. 1 month's rent is your first month rent on your lease that you'd have to pay anyway. And then if you have recovering credit, maybe lower credit right now, then you would do $1,250 to the company GreenPath, and GreenPath is your financial coach over the term of your lease to help you get mortgage ready. So they'll set some financial goals with you, they'll do a budget with you, they'll touch base with you, a live kind of like virtual coach, if you will call you when you get paid about 7 or 8 times throughout the term of your lease to make sure that we're following our plan. And that will help you get on track to make sure that you can get a loan at the end of your lease, which, by the way, can be structured for anywhere from a year, 18 months, 2 years, whatever you need. And then the amount of your monthly payments that's credited to eventually your future purchase price is something we negotiate, if we can even get that negotiated. So if you want a low rent right now, then the owner of the property may just give you a really low rent and you don't get any credit later. If you want to pay a little bit more as a forced savings plan, essentially, instead of paying, say, $1,500, you're paying $1,700, and you want $200 to be a credit towards your future purchase price, maybe that's something that we can negotiate. But, we're trying to do what's fair on both sides. We create a win-win scenario. We want to buy you time and an opportunity to get the finances together so that we can buy the house later and create a formal plan to get you from the rental camp into the ownership camp. So going back to the 4 reasons that people can't buy right now or don't want to buy, let's address these. Number 1, no credit. Well, we can address that with the GreenPath program during the term of your lease and get you mortgage ready. Number 2, no cash. Again, if you have the first month rent, then you have the option money to put down. That's not that big of a deal if you're going to move anyway into a property. Number 3, no confidence. If you don't have confidence in your job later, again, your plan B, and we'd be happy to show you what the numbers look like if you were to buy a house, get a loan, have to make mortgage payments, but you leave town because you lose your job or whatever, and you have a tenant fill in at today's market rates. We'll show you what that rent looks like and how much you get after all your expenses and your mortgage payments are made, and you'll be pleasantly surprised to see what kind of return you get on that investment. Plus you get the tax write-offs, plus you get to depreciate the asset, and there's a lot of benefits that come with that. So that's a worst case scenario, frankly, for number 3. So don't be afraid to buy a property right now, because then you'll be the one getting those big rents as opposed to paying them. And then the last thing is, if you're afraid about what home prices are going to do later, again, we protect you because of that appraisal contingency that's in your option contract. So guys, hopefully that kind of clears some things up about how the rent-to-own program works. If you're curious to know how that might fit in your situation, then we can get on the phone. We can talk about what you're trying to accomplish. We can talk about the resources that you have available, and then we can see if it's realistic that we can pair you up with a particular property that an owner would be okay with, maybe some win-win terms based on your situation. So again, hopefully you enjoyed this overview. If you have any questions, I'd love to talk to you more about it. Feel free to call us at the number on your screen. Talk to you soon.